Hi everyone, this is the Ask Annie podcast, Horse Girl reviews on products you use. This episode is brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim. Horses are living, breathing works of art, and caring for them requires an entire team: veterinarians, farriers, trainers, riders, and grooms. Boehringer Ingelheim is proud to help provide tools to help the team keep them performing at their peak. Veterinarians, farriers, trainers, riders, grooms, everyone plays a role keeping these horses at peak performance. Boehringer Ingelheim is proud to provide the tools to help your team keep them healthy. From joint health to gastric health, Boehringer Ingelheim is here to support your horse's team. We provide the tools and your team provides the everyday care to keep these horses performing at their peak. And another tool they're providing is Trax, a piece of music designed specifically to help horses relax, which we discuss in this week's episode. Boehringer Ingelheim is proud to provide the tools to help your team create works of equine art. Well, thank you for joining us today, Dr. Roos and Janet. We are speaking on a Boehringer Ingelheim project between you and Janet Marlow's company, Pet Acoustics. Can you tell us a little bit about both of yourselves and how horses have been a part of your lives?
Dr. Roos, do you want to go first?
Sure, Janet, thank you. It was like, oh, how do we decide who goes first on a recording? So great to be here. So I am Sarah Roos. So I am one of the veterinarians. So I'm an equine technical manager with Boehringer Ingelheim. I have ridden horses since I was about 8 years old. I grew up in Pennsylvania. Have kind of always been in the hunter jumper world. Have kind of gone in and out based upon time over the course of my education and career, but horses have always been there in the background, and I'm happily riding again now. I'm that kid who said that they always wanted to be a veterinarian. A lot of that influenced because of my relationship with horses, and been fortunate that that happened, and that I've been lucky enough to be a horse vet now for, I just figured out I graduated 17 years ago this week, I think, actually. So
that's great. Well, my story is actually from not being able to be around horses and animals as a child, but was placed instruments in my hand. I'm fifth generation musician and composer in my family. And so any opportunity I had just intuitively to be near horses, or to, I was the kid that, brought home the stray dog and the stray kittens all the time, but we lived in New York City, and so apartments were not conducive for that. And my mother kind of just said out. And so it actually created a greater passion and desire for me to know more and be with animals. And any opportunity I had to ride with friends that, that went riding, I did. I lived in Spain. I did riding in Spain, and that was very serious horseback riding, I have to say. It helped me become a better observer of what horses were all about. And because I had an acoustic recording career for many years, I was able to develop this interest on how they hear, why is sound and why is music so powerful for them. So that was my background.
That's amazing. Yeah. And can you tell us both about your journey to your current roles and kind of what your typical day is like for both of you?
Sure. So like I said, so my role now, I am what is called a technical manager for Boehringer Ingelheim. So I do a lot of educational support surrounding all of the various products and disease states that we have products to address in the equine veterinary world. Kind of my background a little bit. So like I said, I went to University of Pennsylvania for vet school. I did an internship at an equine practice in Ocala, and then I did a large animal medicine residency at Texas A&M. And then was in practice for a bit, and then I was faculty at the University of Florida College of Veterinary Medicine until I moved to industry. So I kind of dabbled in all aspects kind of equine practice, between academia, private practice, and now being on the industry side. In the my job is different, obviously, or honestly, I should say, every day. Like I said, I do a lot of education. So whether that is of our internal staff, whether that is veterinarians, whether that's veterinary students, whether that's horse owners, kind of talking to them again about many of the different diseases that horses can get. And then obviously specifically kind of in some of those cases targeting in, products that we might have that might address them. And then I also kind of make sure that what we say about them, we can legally say, so that we actually have evidence, whether that's through the FDA or through the USDA, that again, what we're saying about our products is factual and true. So yeah, every day is a little bit different. I travel a lot. It's fun.
I want your life.
I get to talk to interesting people. I have to say, like, I love every time I get to talk to Janet, I learn something new about her or what she does. Like 5th generation. That's so impressive. Like, as someone who has zero musical skills, like I love that. And that is, it's one of the fun things about my job is everywhere I go, I get to meet different people in all facets of the horse industry, and everybody has such interesting life stories. It's fascinating.
It was very interesting, and for me, the in 2017 in the University of Lublin, they did a 2-year study on 120 Arabian horses, race horses, and they used my music, half with, half without. And after 2 years, they were able to determine that the music definitely lowered the cortisol level, the stress hormone, in racehorses, and that they won more races. From that article, Boehringer Ingelheim contacted me to create a project for this relaxed Trax in regards to combining it with the ulcer guard. So let's go rewind way back to 1994, where the digital age of having a recording studio for me as a composer was like, the greatest toy box you can have, even though I had done recordings and toured for many, many years. But when I was able to do it myself, I had an epiphany that because all my dogs and cats came to my side when I practiced for performances, and they were so soothed and relaxed, I wanted to find out what it is about music, sound, and the hearing capacity of animals that accesses this ability for them to self-soothe and be calm, which is so amazing. And then I developed this concept of how to take human music, what we do, what we love, big, broad spectrums of sound and dynamics and interest and rock and movement and everything to get us into different moods. But for animals, they really just want to be calm and they want to feel safe. And so I modified music and I developed species-specific music. And I focused on dogs and cats. But once I moved into the horse world, I was able to see a tremendous and profound difference. And that's been very exciting. So I'm credited with developing species-specific music, which is a different process than music for humans. And it's been very exciting. And now I'm a global company. So it's just been great. And to align myself with Boehringer Ingelheim has been really such a wonderful collaboration.
Yeah, goodness, I'll say what a timeline for both of you. It was just seems meant to be that you were all supposed to come together on this project. And Janet, you touched on it a little bit, but the two of you recently collaborated on a project based around reducing stress in horses. Yeah. How did the two of you connect on this experiment? And can you kind of tell us a little bit about the first steps of it?
Yes, well, we worked with several teams to fine tune the best track for offering this free gift for horse owners to use to help their horses feel calm in relationship to mitigating stress, which obviously leads to ulcers, which is the bridge between the music and the ulcer guard product. And so We spent, I think, about 3 months back and forth with all the teams, talking, collaborating, and utilizing my research, which is uh, to modify the frequency and the decibel content of the track itself. So we know that horses are very strong in 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4 time. You can see horses move to music in their stalls. Their sensitivity to hearing and movement is, as we all know, is extraordinary. We love that about them. And so we modified the music to be strong in those rhythms. We modified the music to be in a frequency level that was comfortable for equine hearing, which is my specialty. And then there's some proprietary processes that modify the music even further so that it is guaranteed to make the horse go into an illicit calm. And it's very exciting. And it was like taking a block of clay and sculpting it and making it just right for them. And then it became offered as a track. And that's how we did it.
We were super happy to find Janet, honestly. Kind of, like I said, a big portion of my job is talking to people about diseases. Obviously, as a company, we sell GastroGuard and UlcerGuard. And as an internal medicine specialist, I spend a lot of time talking about ulcers in horses, and very little, honestly, talking about drugs, and a lot talking about the risk factors, why it is that horses get so many ulcers and what we can do from a management standpoint to, help treat ulcers as well as, prevent them from coming back. And we know that, stress is such a huge part of the risk for horses to get ulcers. So we spend a lot of time talking about that and nutrition and all of the different things that we can kind of try to do to decrease stress in our horses' environment. And there's kind of been little snippets of research that were out there looking at the effect of music and sound on ulcers in horses. Interestingly, there was a study that showed that talk radio increased the risk of gastric ulcers in horses. I think that's probably true that talk radio might increase the risk of ulcers in all species anymore. But there was that. And then there were a couple other little studies looking at different genres of music and kind of their effects on, stress and behavior in horses. So rock and jazz seem to actually kind of stress horses out a little bit. So there are kind of these little snippets out there. And we as a company, again, spend so much time talking about stress and have this whole, stress campaign to try and help horses out. And kind of just got this idea, wouldn't it be cool if we could come up with something, from a sound standpoint and from a music standpoint, specifically for horses. I'm a total nerd. So I like things that have research behind them, which was why it was so awesome when we found Janet, that again, she actually specifically has published research showing these different changes in sound and in music patterns and whatnot, and how they can help horses. So it was just incredibly fortunate that we found somebody that had some science behind what she does and has been so delightful to work with and has a horse background herself. And so yeah, it was meant to be.
Yeah, and let me just interject what you said about the different styles of music, because people we as humans are very subjective, so we think what we like, our animals like, and that's why pet acoustics exists, is to cut out the middleman, which is the human, to really just go to the proven science of really what an animal works. So for your listeners on the podcast, I'd like to give some really fun tip for them. So horses hear most comfortably between 60 and 80 decibels. And you can download on your smartphone a free decibel app. And wherever you go, especially if you're taking your horse to a show or you're in the trailer and your horse is experiencing stress, it could just be because of sound, because that's my specialty. I love the horse's body, but the ears is really the key. So everything is, in terms of sound, is the pressure in the inner ear of the horse. And that's what triggers a lot of behavior. And because sound is invisible, we don't look at a horse's ears as as a trigger for agitation, but mostly that's what's going on. So if they take a decibel app and just see, oh, this is now 90 decibels, oh, this might be causing my horse's behavior. It's a really fun way to experience the world because we don't hear what they hear. And so it's kind of a technical bridge that you can understand what they're experiencing. It's fun.
Yeah, I appreciate that as a horse owner because, we're as humans, we're kind of used to things at different levels, but it is difficult to put yourself in your horse's shoes, but that's a very applicable way to do it. So
Yeah.
I love that.
Since talking and learning from Janet, like every time I'm in the barn or at a horse show now, like I pick up on these things that I never would have before. I was at a horse show not that long ago and just walking through some of the different barns, there was, some pretty loud, like hard rock in one of the barns. And then there was like some mariachi music in the other. Like everywhere I went, I was just like, oh, I wonder if this is stressing the horses out. I want to play Janet's music for them so that they can all be calm. Because like Janet said, emotionally, we want to listen to some of this music to, pump ourselves up before we go in the ring or just to entertain us while we're doing barn chores or whatever. And not always thinking about the effect that that's having on the horses that are in there. So it is funny. As soon as you hear or read any of these things, all of a sudden you do start to experience sound differently when you're in a barn. So thank you for that, Janet.
Yes, you're welcome. I'm still thinking about that mariachi music though.
Me too.
That's cool.
Well, and we've done our own little internal experiments, but what were the results of this experiment that you found, and how can horse owners implement these findings?
BI made the Relax Trax, it's called Tranquil Trot, available on a YouTube, on their YouTube channel for horse owners to download. And there's also a beautiful visual that goes along with it. They just did such a gorgeous job of it. But it became so popular that they wanted to have just a track that they could download on any device, which occurred. And I think there's a tremendous interest because of the scientific basis and the brand association with BI as a trusted brand, that and of course, the pet acoustics aspect of it as well, that this is that horse owners, they want to know what the go-to is for calming their horse in any situation. And I think it's really it's a new mindset for people to understand that it's not just classical or mariachi music, but that they need something that's going to be a guaranteed experience for their horse. Because, stress in an animal is one of the most disturbing things I've ever experienced. I mean, my dogs during thunderstorms, panting, pacing, drooling, there's nothing more difficult to deal with because you want to just hold them and, take care of it. But once they go past that hypervigilant stage of agitation, it's very, very hard. And if you're doing, jumping or, you're in a show, you don't want that to happen.
So yeah, so like Janet said, it's available on the BI YouTube channel, which again, if you're, not somewhere sitting in front of your computer, if you even just Google equine relax tracks, it'll be one of the first things that pops up in your search. So on the YouTube, like Janet said, there is kind of a nice little visual that is also kind of soothing that goes with it. But then there is a link on there to where you can also download it onto your phone and have it just as a sound file as well. And again, it's all free to horse owners. It is the gift that we wanted to give to horses and to the people who love them, is something that's free and reasonably easy to try and help horses to deal with their day-to-day stressors. And we hear little stories from people, and I can tell you, even in my own barn, there was a horse in the cross ties that was getting its mane pulled and clipped before showing, and he wasn't being super naughty, but was just kind of dancing around in the cross ties. And I said, let's just try playing this, while you're working on your horse, and did. And within about 3 minutes, I think the horse was kind of in a happy zen droopy lip kind of snooze happening in the cross ties, and it's pretty impressive, honestly, when you actually see it work.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that it's a preventative measure too, and not something that you need to give, after the problem has arisen. It's kind of, sort of that maintenance thing. And I appreciate that because, like you said, Janet, we don't want to see our animals stressed. And so to just not even get to that point is way better than treating the problem once it's arisen. So I love that. How does this type of therapy work in conjunction with ulcer guard?
Yeah, so again, the relaxed Trax, is a good prevention. So again, there's, no risk to it. You can, play at any time that that your horse might be stressed. So again, whether that's while you're riding, whether that's, the farrier's coming, the veterinarian's coming, you're grooming, there's a new neighbor moving into the stall next door to the horse, there's a thunderstorm or fireworks or, whatever there is that's happening, that you can play this sound file to try and kind of, like Janet has said, kind of create that sound bubble for the horse to try and help alleviate its stress. Obviously, there are times that we can't necessarily control everything, and then that's where maybe ulcer guard starts to play a role, is then supplementing the sound Trax or the relaxed Trax, with ulcer guard to try and prevent the development of gastric ulcers when maybe we can't control the entire environment, or the horse still has to get on a trailer and go somewhere, and we know that that's stressful for the horse. Great if you can play the sound while you're in the trailer, that's even better. But potentially, pairing that with ulcer guard prevention when we can't control everything.
Yeah, the general knowledge is that music is a powerful tool, and it helps us. And for animals that hear more and are more sensitive, it becomes a very important part of their daily lives. And so this Trax should, you can play the same music for an animal for 10 years and they will have the same response, but not for humans, because we need variety all the time, minute to minute. But for an animal, if they know that their environment is feeling comfortable and safe and is not creating that pressure in the ear, they are good as gold.
That's amazing. Is there anything else new from BI that listeners should keep an eye or ear out for?
Yay.
That was very well said. I liked that. An eye or an ear. Again, we're really just constantly trying to educate people on all of the management aspects that can go into trying to keep our horses healthy and happy and, able to do their job, whatever that job is, whether they're an elite athlete or whether they're just, a beloved backyard pet who, takes the grandkids for a ride. So again, we're constantly kind of talking about stress and all the different things that we can do to manage stress, as well as, nutrition, and really just working with the entire team that supports your horse to try and keep it happy and healthy.
Was there anything else that you wanted to discuss or talk about?
If anybody would like to contact me in regards to their horse or, stress or music, I'd be very happy to, have a conversation with them. They can write to me at hello@petacoustics.com. And I'd be very happy to, talk about music and see if I can help.
So obviously, Janet, you've done a lot with pets. So dogs, cats, horses. I was just reading something somewhere recently, actually even about the effects of music on cattle. So it's all species seem to have these beneficial effects from their sound environment. I just didn't know if you had ever worked with any of those other species.
I've actually done work with agricultural pig experiments down in Santiago, Chile, at a big agricultural area, and I've written music for swine, and the results were really because they're kind of, the mothers and the piglets have this kind of weird, cruel relationship. And they learned that after listening to the music, and this has been done for a year now, that the pigs move into play. They actually move into a play behavior. So we're in the middle of this. It's going to be published in the fall. We just finished a biometric study on dogs of all breeds, showing the benefits of this specific music, canine music. We've done it also for cats, and now we've done it for horses. So basically, it boils down to this: a biological cell can be moved by vibration and sound, and it can be positive or negative. And I'm all for positive.
It's fascinating.
That's amazing. That's so amazing. I love how it's cross species like that. It's so incredible.
Yes, absolutely. I have a chart here. It's more specific on my website, but this is human hearing. This is horse hearing. So we've now learned that horses and humans, just in terms of numbers, are the most closely related hearing ranges of any mammal on the planet.
Wow.
Is so intimate and so understandable by your horse. If you just whisper to them, anyway, I just love that. I just love horses. And then this is canine hearing, and this is feline hearing. So felines, cats hear 3 times more than humans. Dogs hear twice as much as humans. And dogs also hear 4 times further than humans. So that's why they're running to the window barking, saying there's something out there, and you go, huh? And they know, and we don't. So always trust your dog.
Well, and I think one of the things that's come up before is kind of that sound bubble. So again, if it's a thunderstorm or you're at a show and there's a loudspeaker, that's kind of in the distance. And Janet, correct me if I'm wrong, but you kind of, again, talked about it is whatever is kind of in that horse's bubble. So kind of in closer proximity, not so much that it's drowning it out volume wise, but just that they're kind of focusing on that sound that is directly around them. And that's kind of almost the protection, so to speak, of the relapse tracks.
Absolutely. Their immediate environment is everything. And again, it's since air is a pressure, if that's what they're feeling, even in a 6-foot distance, it will have an effect on them because they hear so much better than we do. So really, the understanding, if anything I've done in my life is to help animal caregivers understand that the hearing is such a major part of their lives, and that we can't experience that. So you see, we have a mental cutoff point because we can't experiencing. And so that's why I also, through my company, try to educate as many people as possible as I go along. I've been doing that for 25 years to help them know, hey, this is apart from, the best saddles and the best farrier and the best this, that you're really giving them the best life according to their hearing.
No risk to sound, right? It's not like it's a saddle that might not fit your horse right and pinch it somewhere or something like that. Like they're really, I can't think of a downside to surrounding the horse in good sound. So
yeah, and for horse folk to understand that if there's an issue and you can't find it, it might just be the environment.
I love that point, because we are always trying to, nitpick what's wrong and try this and try that. And yeah, maybe it's just where they live. They just need a little bit of an adjustment. So
Exactly.
I like you brought that in.
Horses inherently want to be good. They don't want to be naughty and, have stable vices or be bucking us off when we're riding them in general. They usually are really not looking for ways to be naughty. And so a lot of times, if they are, again, whether that's in the stall or, when being ridden, a lot of times there is an underlying issue, whether that is a health issue, which could be compounded by their management, by their environment. It's one of the ways where, wouldn't our lives all be easier if our horses could talk and tell us what it was that was bothering them? But we do have to kind of open our eyes and ears to everything that's surrounding them and everything that's contributing to every minute, every second of their life, to kind of figure out what it might be that is making that horse act out in a different way.
Thank you, Janet and Dr. Roos, for being on the podcast today. To listen to Relax Trax as mentioned in this episode, please visit the Boehringer Ingelheim YouTube page. That's Boehringer Ingelheim US Equine Health to listen to Relax Trax. Thanks for tuning in. Learn more about the Ask Annie podcast by following us on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Ask Annie Podcast. Have a suggestion for a product you'd like me to use in an upcoming episode? Email me at askanniepodcast@gmail.com or leave a comment on any of our social media pages. Find even more Ask Annie episodes anywhere you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many more. The Ask Annie podcast is a production of the Equine Podcast Network, an entity of Equine Network, LLC.